Hi, and welcome to 647, 6 stories for 7 a.m. because there's a famine of truth in our land, and this is your quick news fix. And the truth starts now. It's Wednesday, January 7th, and me and my octopus are having a good time. Listen, there was a mistake yesterday in that Scott Adams story, and only one listener got back to me on it, right? My old high school buddy calls me and says, hey, dipshit, Doonesbury was written by Gary Trudeau. You're talking about Scott Adams. He wrote Dilbert. Now, where were the rest of you on that? You just going to let me swing out there in the breeze like that? Doonesbury, Gary Trudeau, he married Jane Pauley. They're like the biggest libs on the planet. No. Scott Adams and Dilbert. That's the correction. That's how we roll here in the one-man army. Okay. So yesterday was J6. And I got an article here by the Gateway Pundit that's going to blow your mind, okay? So here's how Dems buy silence. Lieutenant Michael Byrd, who shot Ashli Babbitt dead on January 6, 2021, in cold blood, runs an unaccredited daycare center in Maryland at his home and has pocketed $190 million from HHS funds. Now, that's not only what we call getting your Somali on, and he's not Somali, but this is how Dems roll when they need to buy somebody's silence. They make it so absolutely lucrative that they won't talk to anybody. They'll turn down every film deal. They'll turn down every book deal, right? And I'm going to tell you something else. This guy Byrd was no good with his gun, and he left it in a bathroom once. He's failed the shooting tests, which are minimal for cops. And who told him to shoot a protester? Somebody did. They were coming in the windows near Nancy Pelosi's office. You think maybe Nancy said, just shoot one of them so they don't come in? That's what I'm thinking. What do I know? I think someone told him to shoot, and now they want him to shut up and not tell anybody about that. And they don't want anybody to squeeze this man. And guess what? That was a terrible thing. He shot her right in the neck, and she was a former veteran, a woman. Just terrible. And Dems could not shut up about all of the police officers who were killed and injured that day. 2 women, okay? Mercilessly killed. It's unbelievable. All right, so let's read a little bit about this. In one of his auto pen's last acts before Joe Biden left office was to pardon Captain Mike Byrd, the D.C. officer who shot and killed January 6 protester Ashli Babbitt in cold blood during the protests on Capitol Hill on January 6, 2021. Video evidence captured Byrd shooting an unarmed Babbitt without warning as she attempted to climb through a narrow window near a barricaded entryway to the Speaker of the House's office area in the U.S. Capitol. Following an investigation, Byrd was cleared of any wrongdoing. Of course he was. Although questions remain about the escalation to lethal force without attempts to subdue or detain Babbitt. In the video, other law enforcement officers are visible in the background, appearing available to provide backup if needed. In addition to Byrd leaving his Glock 22 service weapon in a visitor's center bathroom in February of 2019, Byrd also had his police powers revoked on several occasions for failing to meet semi-annual firearms qualification standards. Byrd expressed defiance after being pressed about killing Babbitt during an NBC interview. He also whined that he was getting death threats. Well, guess what? Now he's got a whole other set of problems because somebody ordered him to shoot a protester to back those people off, somebody who was worried about her office getting overrun because of what was in there, a computer, files, all kinds of things. And this guy got silenced with the Somali Special, $190 million of your taxpayer money, of my taxpayer money. Nancy's got to go to jail, Trump. That's all there is to it. Maybe she and Hillary can have a cell together. Be fun. All right, take two. Somalia's ambassador to the United Nations linked to Medicare fraud in Ohio. You cannot make this up. Abukar Dahir Osman, hearing the prayer 5 times a day and stuffing his pockets by stealing. Whoa, it's the religion of peace. The permanent representative of Somalia to the United Nations is linked to a home health care agency in Cincinnati, Ohio, that was prosecuted for Medicaid fraud, officials with the Department of Health and Human Services have confirmed. Abu, what did you do? This week, online reports began circulating that Osman, we're going to call him Abu, had ties to Progressive Health Care Services, a home health care company plagued by Medicaid fraud investigations, right? Let's just talk about that. Abu had this big office with all these individual suites in it, right? Each suite was a separate home health care company, right? He was the director of each one of these things. There's no kids being taken care of. This is just the Somali shuffle. And this is from the ambassador to the United Nations. HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill confirmed via X that Osman, Abu to you, is in fact linked to Progressive Healthcare Services and that the federal agency previously took action against the home health care company after a conviction for Medicaid fraud. So look, Washington State, Ohio, Minnesota, it's in all 50 states. If the ambassador to the UN is getting kickbacks, if Lieutenant Michael Byrd got $190 million, what do you think Congress is getting from this? Why do you think all these people zipped it? We never heard anything about this. And now there's old Timmy Waltz with his finger in the dike, and today it blew open on him, and it's going to blow all the dikes all over the United States. Every one of 50 states is going to have this. And you know what? All these things are an argument to abolish the IRS. What are we having a third of our paychecks taken from us for if these clowns are paying way, way more than all that and stealing it? It's unbelievable. All right. Take 3. Greenland belongs to its people. European leaders unite over Trump's threats to annex the territory. European leaders rebuked U.S. President Donald Trump over Greenland, saying in a joint statement that the Arctic island belongs to its people. And remember, it's a joint statement. Trump has threatened to annex the Danish self-governing island and reiterated his desire to acquire it since the U.S. military action in Venezuela. It is for Denmark and Greenland and them only to decide on matters concerning Denmark and Greenland, the European leaders say, right? So look, this is what the Park Service does. If a bear gets a taste for human blood, they either have to be destroyed or they have to be taken far away. But nobody in Europe has the stones or any of the mechanisms to do that. So STFU. All right, European leaders on Tuesday issued a joint statement to push back against U.S. President Donald Trump's renewed interest in Greenland. The Kingdom of Denmark, including Greenland, is part of NATO. That'll command respect. Security in the Arctic must therefore be achieved collectively. See how Mom Donnie's got that word now? It's in the flow, and they love it. Everything's going to be about collectivism. Collectively, in conjunction with NATO allies, including the United States, by upholding the principles of the UN Charter, including sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the inviolability of borders. Yeah, nobody cared about that for 5 years. These are universal principles, and we will not stop defending them unless it's to our advantage financially. Trump is already designing the Trump Bjork Greenland Hotel and thermally heated golf course. And you know he is. I can't wait to go there, and I don't even play golf. All right, take 4. Again, Breitbart, Fetterman. If we didn't want Maduro removed, why did Biden have a bounty on him? What a salient question. You remember when Fetterman was a stroked out charlatan who looked like Uncle Fester in an Antifa sweatsuit? Yeah, well, now Fetterman's the sage of the Senate. He kicks back, he shows up on Fox and Friends, and he lays out a simple question. On Monday's broadcast of Fox and Friends channel, Senator John Fetterman pointed to President Joe Biden raising the bounty on Nicolas Maduro to $25 million in January of 2025. Not too long ago, right? 12 months? Everybody forgot about it? Not Uncle Fester. He's on it. Democrats years ago wanted to eliminate him. And why? Have a bounty of $25 million if we didn't want him gone. Why would you do these things if you weren't willing to actually do something other than harsh language? Fetterman said, I've seen the speeches from whether it's Leader Schumer or past tweets from President Biden. We all wanted the man gone. And now he is gone. He adds, Democrats, we all used to describe him as a dictator or tyrant or terrible person, and it wasn't less than a year ago President Biden raised the bounty to $25 million, less than a year ago. Fetterman's clear on this stuff. Now remember, we all, Democrats years ago, wanted him gone, and we all supported the $25 million bounty. And now what are we doing? We only want harsh language or a stern letter? No, we want to hate on Trump for going and getting it done. Too stupid. But you know what? Fetterman it's a sad state of affairs, but he's the man of wisdom in the Senate right now. All right. So speaking of wise men from the Senate, this is Tommy Tuberville, right? Senator from Alabama, former coach at University of Alabama, a guy who speaks his mind clearly, a guy who hates the elites, and is basically leaving the Senate because he cannot take what a filthy, stinking group of people who serve themselves instead of their constituents. He's leaving to run for governor of Alabama. So Tuberville says Maduro VP Rodriguez, as big a criminal as Maduro, can't allow her to run the country. Trust me, Trump's not going to let her run the country. He's doing what he always does, whether it's to the media or whatever. We'll get into it. On Monday's broadcast of Newsmax's Rob Schmidt Tonight, Senator Tom Tuberville stated that Delcy Rodriguez cannot run Venezuela because she's as big a criminal as Maduro. So at the end of the day, President Trump knows it's got to be cleaned up. I don't know how it's going to happen, but he'll make sure that there's a free and fair election and let the people of Venezuela pick their president. Host Rob Schmidt, is the right move to allow the vice president of Maduro, a loyalist to Maduro, to run the country rather than this opposition party that got 70% of the vote? So look, we don't have to go through an obvious Q&A like this. Here's how Trump operates. He gives the bad guys free rein until they all show their cards, which Delcy already did on Tuesday. Okay? When Trump was announcing everything on Sunday, she was like, oh, Trump, love the U.S., gonna work with you. And then by Tuesday, she's saying, I hate Trump, I hate the U.S., because Cuba got to her. And it's got to be Cuba now. Iran's in free fall, so they were the other partner. They can't do anything right now. So Trump is letting all these people show their cards. And as I said, Delcy showed them in spades yesterday. And then he's going to go in and clean it all out with the receipts in hand. So it's not going to be pretty to watch what goes on. I don't know when he makes the decision to say, okay, let's go. But I think he wants to bask in the glow of the victory. And he always has the fallback card of saying, hey, can't do everything for everybody. Take over your own country. We just got rid of the guerrilla that's been enslaving you. And that's basically what he's saying to Iran. Rise up and take it over. There's more of you than there is in the military. Do something about it. All right, take 6. This is an advanced reprobate mind study, and this may be the most reprobate mind of all on the political landscape. This is by John Nolte, a Breitbart. Hillary Clinton libels Trump with false claim he urged supporters to attack Congress on January 6th. Okay, just going to tell you, I was there with a bunch of people, veterans, graduate students, fire department people, all kinds of folks with an interest to see 2 million people gather. As emergency managers, that's of huge interest. But we all believed in our hearts that this election was stolen because Trump was way ahead at 10 o'clock, and then by 4 in the morning, he's way behind. No. And all the votes that came in between those times, 99% for Biden. That can't happen mathematically. Former Secretary of State and 2-time presidential loser Hillary Clinton appears to want to fill her lonely days and empty nights with a libel suit after she falsely claimed on Tuesday that President Trump urged his supporters to attack Congress and the Capitol on January 6 in 21. 5 years ago today, Donald Trump urged his supporters to attack Congress and the Capitol over a proven lie, wrote Madam Hillary. More than 140 police officers were injured. This is Hillary talking. Trump then pardoned the attackers. He betrayed his oath and his country, and we won't ever forget it. The truth, and this coquette of a former first lady knows it, is that on January 6, 2021, Trump not only urged his supporters to be peaceful, but he also requested additional National Guard troops to protect the Capitol, only to be turned down by then House Majority Leader Nancy Pelosi. So Nancy's the architect of all this mayhem, including, I believe, having Ashli shot. And here are Trump's exact words, and I can verify this. I was standing about 70 yards from where he's talking with a bunch of people, and he goes, I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. The minute I heard that, I said to all my guys, I said, you know what? Let's not wait here for the speech. Let's go and get good positions down by the Capitol. So we squeaked our way out of a 2 million person group and started walking down to the Capitol. And we got in a great position about 30 feet off the fence line. So I've been there. I saw the whole thing. And I'm telling you, the story has not been told yet. All right. At no point did Trump urge anyone to, in Hillary's libelous words, attack Congress and the Capitol. She's making that up out of whole cloth, which could leave her open to a defamation suit, which, as we have seen, Trump is more than happy to have his attorneys file. Nancy also confessed on her daughter's video documentary that was being filmed in the car. I take responsibility for not having them, the National Guard. Just prepare for war. I mean, this girl's in terrible trouble. Hillary's in terrible trouble on so many fronts. And it's Orville. You got to buy stock in Orville Redenbacher because this year is the popcorn year. There is going to be so much to see. And you know what? It could have so easily gone the other way. Look at Tim Walz right now. He is in a world of trouble. And he was going to be the vice president. And you know why he's not? Because there's a remnant of believers who are on their knees praying for weeks and weeks and weeks that God would intervene and that we would prevail in 2024. And that's what happened, and I know it, and that's why I unabashedly say, dear God in heaven, thank you so much for giving us a second chance. And we are witnesses to this second chance. And look at what's being revealed. All of this evil is just being peeled back for all of us to see. And you know what? We're all at fault for allowing it to get this far. But dear God, please continue to put your hand over Trump and his cabinet and the military and everybody who's involved, law enforcement, everyone involved in cleaning out this rat's nest of a United States and getting us back to the opportunity to be a shining city on a hill where we are in absolute control of the Western Hemisphere and backing down China, backing off Russia and Europe, and living in peace and prosperity, dear God. I ask that for all of the patriots in this country, all of the believing people in this country, and all of the folks who are a part of this podcast, that you would bless them, dear God, on the first hump day of 2026. God bless you and thank you for participating.
Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Hey yo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes.